I'm Chaiti Narula and welcome to Wionwallet. Today we bring you a special on the recent demonetization move announced by the Government of India. But before that, let's take a look at the headlines that we're tracking at this hour. The government steps up efforts to meet the cash requirement as the nation scrambles for cash, with queues getting longer at ATMs and banks. Tata Motors boards meet today in Mumbai to review the performance during the second quarter to decide the future of Mistry at the helm of the automobile company. The Government of India introduces cess of up to 8,500 rupees on domestic flights per aircraft. Domestic airfare prices likely to have a cess increase. European indices snap out of a two-day losing streak as investor sentiment turns positive. Asian indices trade in the red. Now, the entire nation is scrambling for cash. With the queues getting longer at the ATMs and the banks, the government has now finally stepped up efforts to meet the cash requirement. While the old 500 and 1,000 rupee notes can be accepted at the government hospitals, at petrol pumps, at tolls till November 24th, the government is also likely to increase cash supplies at centres. Now, WION team reports on the government's increased measures to lessen the pain for the common man. Take a look.
As chaos at banks and ATMs is still far from over, PM Modi held a meeting after midnight on Sunday to review the demonetization of the two highest currency notes. And now the government has stepped up efforts to minimize the inconvenience caused to the general public. New Rs 2,000 notes will be available in ATMs from today and tomorrow, while 500 and 1,000 rupee notes, which were scrapped last week, will be accepted at government hospitals, petrol stations, private nursing homes, and as bills and toll fee for 10 more days. The supply of cash will be increased to post offices. The government has already increased the daily limit of withdrawal from ATMs from Rs 2,000 to Rs 2,500 and exchange limited banks from Rs 4,000 to Rs 4,500. Banks have been asked to raise the weekly withdrawal limit to Rs 24,000 and scrap the daily cap.
The focus of the government is to activate all the channels whereby cash is given, cash is dispensed to the members of the public. The first decision was to increase the limit of cash holding to banking correspondent to Rs 50,000. The exchange of cash, old high denomination currency over the counter has also been The facility has been enhanced from the current limit of 4,000 rupees to 4,500 rupees.
In addition to these steps, the number of recalibrated ATMs will be stepped up in the next few days. Banks have received close to $44.4 billion in deposits in the first 4 days. But even then, since last week, long queues at banks and ATMs have become a staple for millions rushing to replace banned notes. Experts say it is still less pain for the long-term benefits for the economy.
Because deposits are taking place in the banks, people with 500 rupee notes, 1,000 rupee notes are depositing the money in the banks. So their deposits are going to go up. And since bank deposits are a source of cheap funds, so therefore the banks will be in a position to lend money much more easily. So that the banks will therefore have I think their balance sheets will look much more healthy than they are today as a result of this.
Many banks are shut today for Guru Nanak's birth anniversary, but the government is likely to put a limit on more holidays going forward. Bureau Report, WION.
All right, demonetization woes continue on the streets of India. Now, we're now joined by Sumit Chaturvedi, who is a chief business correspondent, who is bringing us more on this issue. Now, Sumit, tell us a little more. The entire streets are in chaos. I believe there's an issue of transportation as well, and thousands of people are just stuck in terms of transportation as well, because trucks do not have money, apparently, to cross states as well, isn't it?
Well, the truck is one part. Actually, many other parts of the economy are reeling under the pressure of having no cash. Today was Guru Nanak Dev Jayanti, and banks were shut in around more than a dozen cities, because of which the problems were seen at banks and ATMs. But government surely has taken a number of steps because of the inconveniences being faced by the people. In fact, PM Modi is personally monitoring the situation every 2 hours. That's what we have known from our sources. That's why a host of these steps were announced today morning. The daily withdrawal limit has been hiked to 2,500 rupees from ATMs. In fact, the exchange limit has been hiked to 4,000 rupees. For traders who are dealing with current accounts, the limit has been raised to 50,000 rupees. Government is taking other steps like more and more ATMs will be recalibrated now, and more cash is being sent to post offices, because post offices form a very good network as far as rural areas are concerned. So clearly government is taking a lot of steps so that there is minimum inconvenience to all of the people, and in the next few days we will see the inconvenience coming down because of the steps which have been announced by the government.
All right, thank you, Samit. Now we're joined by the ex-SBI chairman Pratip Chaudhary on the phone line, who's going to be talking to us a little more on this issue with ATMs not having enough money and whether this move came a little too early in the day. Good evening, Mr. Chaudhary.
Good evening.
Tell us a little about the ATMs not having money, their queues lined up. Don't you think the Reserve Bank of India and the central government should have planned this better so that the common man does not get inconvenienced by this?
I would not put the blame on the door of central government, because I think cash management and supply of cash is purely a function of RBI. Right. But my view is that in RBI, policy issues are more glamorous, and these issues receive less attention and seen as less glamorous. But I think RBI and RBI officials now start coming on television and start dispelling these fears that there is cash shortage. They should say at least these points, we have plenty of cash, please go and draw your cash. And in the existing ATMs, pending calibration, at least rupees 100 cases should be filled up right away. In case RBI says that we have enough 100 rupee denominations, it's no point saying that I have 1 lakh crore of 100 rupees. People want to see those 100 rupees in the ATM cases.
So now what is your sense? What is the government likely to do? Because this morning we read a report that says...
The government can only direct, but actual doing has to be done by RBI.
All right. Thank you so much for that update, Mr. Chaudhary. We leave it at that. Now, joining us is our correspondent from Pakistan. Taha Siddiqui joins us to talk to us a little more about how Pakistan views India right now at the back of demonetization. Good evening, Taha. Taha, what is your sense of the demonetization move in India, and how is Pakistan really viewing this move?
Well, just recently after India announced this step, one of the Pakistani senators actually moved a petition in the parliament asking for a similar step to be taken here. As of yet, there has been no development on that petition and a call for petition saying that Pakistan should also call back its currency and do these demonetization. Now, his argument was that this will ensure people who have a lot of cash and are tax evaders and are using corrupt practices to money launder, they can be brought into the system and they can be made accountable. But at the same time, some of the newspapers here, some local Pakistani newspapers have also written some financial analysis on it. One of the most famous financial newspapers, the Business Recorder, has done some pieces on it. And I was talking to some economists, and they said that this step is definitely fascinating for Pakistanis to watch, because given the same sort of financial irregularities that we have in Pakistan with regard to corruption.
So your sense really is that Pakistan will pick up this move of India, and they might probably replicate that for their country as well, which means they're viewing this view of India in good light.
Well, they do think that this is a fascinating step and could also be similarly replicated. But at the same time, I was talking to some experts, financial experts. They feel that the Federal Bureau of Revenue, which is basically what the one that collects taxes here, they have had a very dismal performance when it comes to tax collection already, or for example, when it comes to reconciliating data with bank accounts of people who have bank accounts and people who are paying taxes. it's less than 10-11% of people that are actually documented. So we've already seen that the FBR, or the Federal Board of Revenue, does not have that kind of capacity to manage it. So first of all, most of the economists feel, or most of the financial experts feel, that the capacity of the Federal Board of Revenue has to be increased if any such step would be taken. But again, also the Pakistani government does not have that kind of a mandate, in the sense that this is a step towards anti-corruption, but we already know that Pakistani government itself is facing corruption charges. So this is something that is not likely to happen anytime soon.
All right.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much for joining us with a live update from Pakistan. Now we have our correspondent standing by in Dhaka, who will tell us what the Bangladeshis see this in terms of a move of the government of India. Our correspondent Saad Hamadi joins us live. Good evening, Saad. So Saad, what's your sense of this demonetization move, and how is Bangladesh reacting to this? Do you think they are also likely to follow suit, and are the people already strapping up in anticipation of a move like that from your government as well?
So, Chaiti, the counterfeit money, as well as black money for that matter, have been a very regular thing in Bangladesh as well. And the government has taken different measures over the past decade to kind of issue the real notes and take back all these counterfeit money in order to check on the reality of the money that is available in the economy. Now, I've talked to some of the economists, and what they have said is that it's mostly a routine affair that the government does, and by issuing new notes and taking back the old notes over a period of time, just like the government of India has issued a 50-day time frame. But there is a catch to it in terms of the fact that there is suffering that is being reported about people in India not being able to transact with the existing currency they have. Now, the economists that I have spoken in Bangladesh, they say that there is, of course, an issue of terrorism and violence that can be checked by checking on the counterfeit money that is available in the economy. Now, it needs to be tested about how this responds in India. But having said that, they've also said that it is mostly a routine affair where the government issues new notes and takes back the older notes, so,
right,
to avoid any sort of existence of counterfeit money in the economy up to a certain level.
All right, thank you so much, Saad Hamadi. Right there, our bureau chief in Bangladesh, joining us live on the update as to how Bangladesh really views demonetization as well. Moving on now to news from India again, with the government introducing the cess of up to 8,500 rupees on domestic flights. The domestic airfare prices will be having a cess increase. This is being done by the government to raise funds to fund the regional flight collectivity. The central government in India would stand to earn approximately 400 to 500 crore rupees thereabouts per year with this move. Over and above this, sources have revealed that a 20% contribution will come in by the state government as well. While it's the airlines that have to bear close to 8,500 crores per flight, it is still unclear whether this price increase will be passed on to the end consumer. The centre is also likely to lower the VAT on ATF, which is airline turbine fuel, by 1% or lower, and reduce the parking charges. This move will bring in capacity addition to all airlines and enhance domestic flight connectivity. According to industry experts who we spoke to, the intention of the central government is correct. Having said that, is it well planned really is the question. To talk to us about the rollout, we have with us Captain Bali of Business Aircrafts Operators Association. Good evening, Captain Bali. So now,
good evening. I'm glad to be on your program.
Oh, welcome. So I know that on the civil aviation bit, you don't like to comment more, but on a macroeconomic view, could you comment on the fact that this cess, which is being levied on every flight ticket of about 50 or 60 rupees per flyer and 8,500 rupees collectively on one aircraft, in effect is going to make 500 to 600 crore rupees for the government and increase the flight connectivity? How do you view this for businessmen abroad who are looking to come to India, for multinational corporation, the new way in which they look at India in terms of the ease of doing business here?
I think it is a very correct step. The amount total of 8,500 on flight above 1 hour 30 minutes is not a big deal. But look at the long-term gains which are going to occur to Indian economy. You talked about businessmen coming from abroad to India. The difficulty they face is in terms of the connectivity to the remote areas where new industries are likely to come up. Let's make it very clear that the small aircraft has a very big role to play as far as industrial development and business aviation development in India is concerned. Because right now connectivity to remote areas is only possible through these small aircraft. And if government is levying any tax or levying any cess on the flights on the scheduled airlines, which is going to be passed on to maybe 50 rupees per passenger, I think it's a win-win situation in the long term. It's going to help the economy grow, it's going to help the regional connectivity grow, ultimately leading to greater industrial development of rural India.
But do you think somewhere the airline operators will face a sort of a hit in terms of their input prices becoming higher and their margins compressing going forward? What is the government likely to do, if you know, in terms of leveraging this out in terms of costs and making maybe the parking charges a little more cheaper, or giving them some sort of other subsidies as well to be able to enable them to take on this additional 8,500 rupees per flight?
Yeah, I think it is one beginning which the government has made, and I believe it's a multi-pronged attack, because government is also working on lowering the parking charges. There are subsidies going to come from the state governments in this. You mentioned in the beginning of your program that 20% is going to come from states. It is 10% from Northeast states, but 20% from other states who are participating in the scheme. I believe that in the long term, even airlines are going to gain, because they will find an increased number of passengers coming from this area, which will add to their final kitty of number of passengers they carry on a day.
All right. Thank you so much, Captain Bali, for joining us with your view. Of course, Captain Bali viewing this in a very positive light in terms of the ease of doing business in our country. Now, moving on, 12,000 runners, about 13 Olympic champions, and the Delhi Half Marathon is good to go this weekend. But not many know is that this globally watched event is a major contributor to charity as well. Now, you remember Asafa Powell, the Jamaican sprinter and 3 times world record holder. He is the brand ambassador of the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon, which kicks off this weekend. Also sweating it out will be India's 13 Rio Olympians, and hold your breath, more than about 12,000 runners. But the running and the sweating apart, this event is notable for the underlying spirit of charity. The event will feature around 1,000 senior citizens and 445 people with disabilities as well. Incidentally, the prize money is $270,000. We're now joined by Anil Singh, the managing director of Procam International, live from Mumbai to talk to us about the Delhi Half Marathon. Good evening, Anil. Anil, tell us.
Good evening, Chaiti. How are you?
Very well.
Thank you for having me on your show.
You're most welcome. The pleasure is all ours. Tell us a little bit about this year's marathon brand ambassador. What's different this year?
Well, I'm going to sort of put it in a total perspective rather than just focus on one point. And that the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon is actually today positioned as the #1 half marathon in the world. And that's a huge statement for a country like India to make in the world of distance running. And a small correction, we have close to about 40,000 people participating, which of course includes the Great Delhi Run, the half marathon, the half marathon for the amateurs, and the physically challenged. So it's a great combination of about 40,000 people that will be participating this Sunday on the 20th in Delhi in the morning. And yes, we are not only graced, I've been blessed and privileged to have Asafa Powell, possibly one of the greatest names in the world of athletics, to be our brand ambassador. But we also have Eliud Kipchoge, who is the current Rio Olympic gold medalist, running his first race after winning the Olympic gold, to race in Delhi, and the women's world marathon champion and current record holder outside a star-studded field.
Anil, the marathons also contribute in a large way to charity. Focus of your marathons largely, whether it's in Bangalore or Mumbai or in Delhi, is more about corporate social responsibility as well. But you can only exude that only if you are profitable. How did you go on to make marathons really profitable in India?
Well, the profitability is a completely different model. I mean, completely different vertical to the charity side. The charity side is controlled, the charity vertical is controlled by an international gateway, where we, over these years, have managed to teach over 700 NGOs how to sort of raise money on the back of the platforms of these various different distance running events. So yes, we have managed to, and actually it's a great story because, funnily enough, to have a company like Procam International, which is not the biggest of them all, to be the single largest platform for charity in the country is a phenomenal statement to make. And we have over the past 14 years, raised over 260 crores for over 700 NGOs. So yes, but the beautiful part is that, it doesn't matter how much you donate, it's the most transparent, the most real system, if I may put it with a lack of any other word. And you can also know in which brick your rupees 10, in case you had given it to charity years ago, lies. So it's that transparent and that clean. So it's a fantastic another story that's parallel to the distance running movement.
All right, we will be tracking the Airtel Delhi Half Marathon this weekend in detail. We leave it at that. Mr. Anil Singh, thank you so much for joining us live from Mumbai on that update. Now moving on to the big story from corporate India. The Tata Motors board meeting is today in Mumbai to consider and review the performance during the second quarter. But more importantly, will decide the future of Mistry at the helm of the automobile company. It is likely to be a divided house at Tata Motors board, as lines will be clearly drawn within the ranks of the independent directors, with some in favour of Mistry and the rest likely to go with the Tata Sons. People in the know believe that as it happened at the Tata Steel board, Nalsi Vadia, an independent director, is likely to take in the lead, endorsing Cyrus Mistry's role so far. But this time, it may not get unanimous support from the other directors as well. Moving on to the markets now, the European markets are now snapping a two-day losing streak as the investor sentiment turns positive and provides the much-needed fillip to the markets. On the other hand, the unpredictable Trump win and his unpredictable policies have come out as a bit of a dampener for the emerging economies and the markets as well. The Indian markets were shut today and the Asian markets are showing signs of cracking. While the Indian markets were shut, like I mentioned, Asian indices have posted losses as well. We're now joined by our markets expert to talk about how Taiwan, Hong Kong and Korea were down by 2% each. Ashish, good evening.
Good evening.
Asian markets are posting losses and India was of course shut today, so we don't know, but they did wind up in the red on Friday as well. Now tell us a little bit about Trump winning in US and how badly is that auguring down for emerging economies on the back of the protectionist policies that Trump embraces.
Your voice was breaking. I was not able to hear your voice clearly. Can you please repeat the question?
I was saying the Asian markets were down today roughly by about 2%, China, Hong Kong, Taiwan, etc. The Indian markets were shut today. On Friday, of course, they ended in the red as well. Now, Trump winning the election in the US is probably auguring badly for the emerging economies on the back of the protectionism that he exudes in terms of his policies. What do you have to say about where the markets will go on from here on as far as the emerging markets are concerned?
Okay. Good evening to all. Let's talk technically. If we look at the Nifty chart, if we take the review of a daily as well as a weekly chart, I can see a very strong support at this current juncture. I understand that because of this international event, Trump winning the presidential election, the markets have reacted globally. But we see that there is a strong undercurrent in Indian market especially. This correction is, I believe, a very good buying opportunity in the long run. Now, level-specific discussion, if I would like to take this, then I can see 8250 level is a very good level for Nifty. I believe that the support will be taken at 8250 level. But next 15 days, I see there is a consolidation happening in all the Asian markets as well, including India.
So what does investor have to do at this point of time? Panic, hold on to their positions, go short, sell? What is the investor supposed to do in a situation like that? Because you said there was some fair bit of consolidation and correction likely to set in the next 2 weeks to come.
Right. A very good question. I strongly recommend all the investors not to panic in this kind of situation. Here I advise to invest more in step-by-step manner. Suppose I want to invest, let's take an example of say 10 lakhs. I would invest 3 lakhs as of now. If the markets react further, if it corrects further, I would invest another 5 lakhs and another 3 lakhs. So accordingly, I will invest more because I believe that this is a very good opportunity to invest in the right stocks.
All right, thank you so much. We leave it at that. On that note, unfortunately, we have all the time. This is all the time that we have on Wionwallet today. I'll see you tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Thank you so much for tuning in.